Oh, hi there. I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Foundations of Rome by Arcane Wonders.
And as you can see, it is a massive box. In fact, this may be the biggest gateway game ever, or at least biggest one that I know of. And yes, I think it is a gateway game. This is a game in which you are going to build Rome using actual miniature buildings. This game has hundreds, over 100 buildings. At least I'm pretty sure that's true. And you are going to be buying up plot lands and putting out your buildings, trying to get points based off where you put those buildings. I will explain how this game works down below, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer.
All right, here's Foundations of Rome on the table from Arcane Wonders. Let me show you guys this grandiose city building area control game in which you are going to be building up Rome. And you'll be playing on this board here using these building pieces that each player will have in their own player color. They'll have their own tray here. Same exact buildings for each player, just in different colors, as you can see right there. And this gives you an idea of how the game is stored inside this massive box. You do have a deeds for sale board here. We'll come back to this here in just a second. And a score track to keep track of not only the victory points, but also the population. I'll explain what all of that means here in just a second. And the side of the board that you use will be dependent upon how many players there are in the game. You see here the 4 to 5 player side of the board. The other side of the board has 2 to 3 players, which will not have these purple numbers or the red numbers. It will just be this playing area right here. Now, depending again on how many players there are in the game will determine how many of these deeds for cards deeds for sale cards that you'll play with. You can see here I have the 2+ players, which is what you will use in every game, but you may include the 3 or more player deck, the 4 or more player deck, and lastly, the 5 or more player deck. And each player is going to be dealt a number of deed cards to them that they will use to start the game with, such as this hand right here. I have A2. And so A2 tells me that I own plot A2 way up here at the top. And so I will use one of my deed markers here. And these markers all are different based on what player color you are. And I put it on A2 to signify that that is mine and no one else has that. And I may use A2 to build one of my buildings on my turn. So what do you do on your turn? Well, this game is actually very simple. You are going to do one of 3 things. You'll either buy a deed, build or upgrade a lot you own, or take income. So let's cover these in order. Buying a deed. Back over here to the deeds for sale board, you can see that there are 6 deeds that are for sale, increasing in value, going from the cheapest at 2 silver to the most expensive at 10 silver. And I would just pay however much silver I am purchasing. So for instance, if I take B3 here, I would need to pay 4 silver to the bank. All of these cards would slide down, and I would put one of my lots markers on B3. So here's my lot marker, and I'm going to put it on B3. Now I own that lot. And a new card would come from the corresponding era. So in the beginning, era 1 will fill in G6 here to go on A10. Now that is buying a lot. Second thing you might do is build or upgrade on lots you own. Now this is the interesting, fun part of the game because you're actually putting out your buildings on the lots that you own, and you can see that the buildings come in different shapes and sizes as well as different colors. The peach color here is all going to be about population, increasing the number of people who live in Rome. The taupe greenish color is going to be all about commerce and increasing your money, whereas these tan or beige color ones are going to be all about victory points and getting other buildings adjacent to these buildings. So I might build my 1 population building here, and all of these buildings have different names, and you can see just how detailed they are. They are very detailed. And so I might build that and put it right here on B3. And I take back my lot marker because I only have a limited supply of these. Once I run out of these, I am going to have to start building to get these back off the board to be able to use on later turns. But now that I have built this building here and increased the population in Rome by 1, I increase my population tracker, moving my matching cube to the corresponding spot on this tracker right here. If instead I had built this building here, I would have increased my income, and I don't increase the population, but rather, when I take the third type of action, taking income, I'm going to gain 5 silver plus silver equal to the value of my commercial buildings. And the green ones are commercial buildings. So I would get 1 silver for this building and 5, because that's as much as you get when you do the take income. And these pieces right here are worth 3. Now these are the upgraded components. There are cardboard components in the game. And these are worth 1. And those are the 3 things that you're going to be doing on your turn. So what happens outside of your turn when these era decks run out, and there's wording here underneath these piles to remind you of what is going to happen, you are going to get points. Now you're going to get points based off of your buildings right here that I mentioned earlier. And you can see, for instance, this building right here is going to give you 1 point for each population that is adjacent to this building. And that is not just your population, but that's every player's population. So for instance, having this building right here would get me 1 point because I have this one population dude right next to this building. And if other players had built up around this building, I would get points for those populations as well. And that's how that aspect of the game works out. Now, you are also going to get victory points based off of where you're at on this population track. Now, you get points based off of where the person in front of you is on this track. So for instance, if the yellow player were here and I'm there on 1, I'm going to get points off of the yellow player being on 4. Well, you say, well, how does that work out? Well, the person who's in front on this track, they are not only going to get points for where they are on this track, so 4 in this case, but they will also get the population bonus for that era. Coming back over here to this board, you can see the population bonus is 4 for era 1. In era 2, the population bonus is going to be 7. And in era 3, the population bonus is worth 10. So each of these bonuses increase in value throughout the course of the game. Coming back to this board, you can see how that is going to help you out in getting more points for the victory point track. And that's the gist of the game. You're going to play through 3 different eras, going through all the different deeds for sale. And at the end of the game, you're going to see who ever has the most points. They are going to be the winner. Now, there are several different expansions or modules that you can add to this game. I'm going to cover them very briefly. You have the Monuments expansion, and that is just going to allow you to use these really, really cool buildings in addition to the buildings that are on each player's player board. You're not going to play with all of these buildings for every game, just a number of them, and they're first come, first serve. The first person to build them gets to put them out on the board and gains the benefit for having done so. The objectives module is going to give each player their own secret objectives, as well as objectives that everybody can play towards, and you get points when you complete those. The player role module is going to give each player one special ability to start the game. This deck right here are it's cards that basically you shuffle into the Deeds for Sale deck, and they're going to be for sale just like the deeds, but they're going to give you special abilities that you can use throughout the course of the game. The Gardens of Ceres module is how you play the game solo. And this module right here is how you play the game cooperative, so that you and up to 3 other people can go against the game together. And then this little module right here is the trading and stealing module, where you can do just that. You can trade different deeds for sale, and you can steal deeds for sale. So it's a little bit cutthroat. And that's what you have here inside of Foundations of Rome. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one.
And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Foundations of Rome from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. And before we get too far into this review, I do want to say that setting this game up, or excuse me, not setting the game up, but initially putting the game together, assembling the game, does take some work. If you buy a new copy, like I have myself, then you are going to need to put in all the little player color pieces that go onto each of the specific buildings that belong to a player set, as well as the monuments, the black pieces that are going to have to snap into those spots. That's going to be a little time consuming. It's going to, use some dexterity with your fingers and your thumbs and whatnot. So just know that you're going to have that going into this before you do set it up for the first time. And that being said, Sam, seeing this out on the table, I got to imagine, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I got to imagine this has got to be intimidating.
Every time Lance has come home with a box anywhere close to this big, every time it's a hard pass for me.
Yeah.
It's usually something that is too complicated, and it's a 100% gamer, and we have games like that. We have games that Lance just plays with his friends, and I am not a part of that, and I am okay with that, and that's exactly what I expected from this game.
Yeah, and quite honestly, when I first saw this on Kickstarter, several years back now, 2 years ago, I think, 2020, when I first saw it, I thought, whoa, that's awesome. I can't wait to play that with my heavy board gamer friends. Yeah. I'm going to get some hardcore board gamers to play this with, because that's what it looks like. It looks like the ultimate pinnacle of board games for heavy board gamers. But it's not. It's totally not. Sam, for you, as I explained this to you and what you were trying to do on your turns and wrapping your head around strategy, what was it like for you as a non-gamer?
It's a lot to take in visually, but it's so cool. It feels like I feel like I'm a little girl playing with a dollhouse.
Okay.
It's like a toy, which we did have to remind our kids that it is not a toy.
It is not a toy.
But this is really, it's my kind of game. I love fitting things together.
Okay.
I love puzzles. It reminds me of some of the other games that I really like, which I'm drawing a blank at the moment. But any games where you're trying to fit
Like the polyomino type games.
Yes. That is some of my favorite type of games. So once we started playing it, I really enjoyed this game.
Yeah, for sure. And guys, this has got to be one of the most visually just, it
Exciting.
sucks you in. Yeah, it causes so much excitement inside you, just kind of seeing some of these buildings. Now, if you don't have the Monuments expansion, that's okay. You're still going to have a great time, and it's going to still be visually pleasing to you. But man, these monuments are worth it. I mean, just looking at them are just spectacular, and it looks cool once you have it out on the table and the game is over and you've built up a city. I mean, you've built up Rome, and no other board game really does it like that in such a simplified way to do it. Now, you can play miniature games, and miniature games look great.
Yeah.
Crisis Protocol, Marvel Crisis Protocol looks awesome because it's got the city buildings and it's got the superheroes. And Sam would just gush over that if we ever had it on our table. But those kind of games, they are time consuming and they're meticulous, and there's lots of rules to them.
I think that was the biggest, I think I know where you're going with this, the biggest positive of this game is it didn't take that long.
No.
And the game this big is usually something I know is going to take us hours, and which is why I'm a hard pass. But this did not at all.
Yeah. This game moves quick, turns are snappy. The only thing about this game is you may come across some analysis paralysis from time to time.
Yeah.
Because there'll be, an opportunity to do something over here on this part of the board, but then maybe you want to buy this plot of land on your turn to set you up for the next turn, three turns down. And you're just kind of thinking through that. That might slow the game down just a tad, but otherwise this is a pretty fast, snappy, quick game.
We played it with our 10-year-old.
We did, yeah, and he won.
Yeah.
Our 10-year-old won.
Yeah.
And we were trying.
Yeah.
So this, in my opinion, this can be a great family game where the kids stand just as much of a chance at winning as the parents do. Now, Is it going to be the kind of game that, works for those heavy, hardcore board gamers? I think it can be because of what it looks like, what it has visually. People love miniatures. Just the truth of the matter. And these are high quality miniatures. Gameplay wise, I think it's still engaging enough, and it's still enough to cause you to have to stop and think what you're doing and maximizing your turns. So yeah, I think this can work for heavy hardcore board gamers, but boy, does it ever work for non-gamers.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
for sure. All right, let's get to pros and cons on this. Sam, what were the things that just really worked well for you with this game?
I mean, it's so, you want to play with it.
I know, yeah.
You just want to, just seeing it and finding joy in just the look of it makes playing it even better.
Yeah.
So I think it very easy to understand and pretty quick. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's checks all my points for a non-gamer game.
Okay. Anything that doesn't work for you?
There's a couple things, especially I think as adults, we can easily say, okay, this is 2 spots or 3 spots.
Okay.
But I wish that maybe, and I understand they didn't want to take away from the aesthetic of it, but maybe on the bottom, if they could have marked off so because I think our son had a little bit of trouble. He didn't realize, okay, I have this one, but I don't have enough spots for it.
Yeah.
And then from a historical point of view, I mean, I'm sure somebody knows all these things, but maybe on the bottom to write exactly what all these buildings are.
Yeah.
I think that would be interesting.
I mean, there are cards for everything, and the rule book does talk about that. So there is, if you really want what Sam's talking about there, you can get that with this game. But I think having something on the actual, maybe like just on the bottom base of the building or something. But even on the bottom,
just so you could turn it over.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to take away from anything, but I would like to be able to just quickly be like, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah,
that's
right.
what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think that would be cool
too. That's a small thing.
Okay.
But that's really it as far as cons. It's just little things that may make the game a little bit easier for younger or people that just don't have as much spatial awareness, just to know, okay, you can easily tell I have 3 spots here. Which ones are going to fit there?
Sure. And on a gamer's side of things here, this is not fair for me to even say, because if you're buying something like this, you know what you're going into as far as space-wise before you even get it. If you don't have the space for a game of this size, then sorry, don't get it. But it does take up a lot of space. I mean,
it does not have a home in our house yet.
It does not. It has sat on the floor ever since it came in the mail, and I have no spot for it. So that's not fair for me to say, because it's not its fault for being as big as it is and it having giant cool miniatures. It's totally worth it. But if you're somebody who is short on space, that is something that you do need to know. This game takes up a lot of your storage spots. So, scale of 1 to 10, love to hate. Where does Foundations of Rome fall?
I've done this twice tonight, or this will be the second time. I feel like this is one of the games where I'm going to rank it high, but it has potential to grow as I play it more. Because of the putting everything back, we have not played this game often, just because it's kind of a commitment as far as putting things together. But I would probably give it, it's probably a solid 8.
Okay.
Yeah, but it could go higher the more I play it.
Sure, yeah. I'm quite a bit higher than Sam, quite honestly, on this. One of my favorite games is Lords of Vegas. I do really enjoy the buying of the plots of land in Lords of Vegas and building up your casinos and just trying to monopolize area on the board and push out other players and all of that. This feels like a high quality, uber quality Lords of Vegas-ish type game in which you're buying those plots of lands and you're trying to put your pieces out on the board, taking up area, kind of monopolizing where you're getting your pieces and pushing out other players from being able to put their pieces in those spots. I love that kind of a game. And because, and when you throw on top, you've got these high quality looking pieces, man, that just kills it or nails it for me. This game is just great. Then on top of all of that, you have the modules that you can add into this game. If you do have them, if you buy them, you know, on the Kickstarter, if you go to their website and get them, there's another Kickstarter coming out soon too. You can make this game even more heavier and more complex so that you can play it with heavy hardcore gamers and get an even fuller experience. So this game has it all. I'm hard pressed to find many negatives on this game. The only negative that I could say is I don't want to tear it down after I've built up a city. I want to leave it and you know, just ooh and ah over it. But you know, at some point you do have to put it away. So for me, I'm a 9.2. This game is near
probably your top 10.
Yes, this game's near perfect for me. I'm hard pressed to find things that I don't like about it. It's everything that I thought it would be from the Kickstarter, and seeing it in real life and being able to touch and hold the pieces is just out of this world. Yeah. So, yeah, you're going to see this later on at the end of the year in a top 10 video for sure.
I think it'll be on both of our lists for sure.
Well, there you have it. That's our thoughts on Foundations of Rome. It is from Arcane Wonders. Let us know your thoughts on this game.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.